I played basketball, and I always wanted to be that pressure player. I always wanted to be the one that stepped up on the line and made that free throw shot to win the game. I don't know why, but I didn't want anybody else but me to be that person. And I had that opportunity. There was a story when I was in high school. We were in our state championship final game, and 0 seconds on the clock, and our team was down 1. And this is for the championship, and I got fouled. And I had to shoot 2 free throws. Well, here was my shot. Here was my opportunity to step up. It's what I always wanted. It's what I said I always wanted. Now it was time to make good on that, right? And I go out to shoot that first free throw, and it's the worst case scenario. It goes up, and it's right on the rim. It's rolling. And my heart's in my stomach. I'm about ready to get sick. I'm like, I've done this thousands of times. How many times have I practiced this and practiced this for this moment? Practiced those free throws. And it went in. And I just almost collapsed on the gym floor. And then the crowd erupts, absolutely erupts. So I go out, and the last shot goes up, and I knew. This one was all swish, all net. And I knew. And we'd won the state championship game that day. And that was my moment. They probably carried with me for a long time because I stepped up. And just as that day on March 2nd, I wouldn't have wanted anybody else but me on the line, stepping up for my kids. Thank you. It's one of the teachings, that mental toughness that I gained through my experiences of sports and my father and family is one of the teachings that my husband and I really try to preach to our own kids. We always tell my son and daughter who are sports fanatics as well and play baseball, you want to be the person in the 7th inning with 2 strikes up to bat. You want to be that person. You want to be the one to step up. Nobody better out there but you. And that's what we expect. And in those teachings, it's kind of funny because now here I am with my situation, and I have to step up. And I have to teach my kids what it takes to be a survivor and to be strong and to have courage and to move on and to show them that, life goes on and life is good. And that's really what we try to teach our children. And I'm amazed that it's kind of come full circle for me, that things that I learned when I was younger and that I try to teach my kids, I have to turn around and do myself. So I firmly believe that mental toughness is one of the big reasons that I survived that day. The challenges that were ahead when I was trapped and didn't know if I was going to make it. I was fighting to stay awake and telling myself that you can do this, you are strong, you have children to live for, you've got a life, your life's not over. So you have to fight, you have to find a way. Somewhere in here you have to find a way. And that's all I could keep telling myself until someone rescued me was you got to keep fighting. They'll be here. Hang on. When I was by myself, that was probably one of the most, it was one of the hardest moments because, one, I never let my body did not go into shock. I had a job to do. I had kids to get out. I could not let them see their mother die right in front of them. Wasn't an option. With that kind of pain, the doctors really don't understand how my body didn't go into shock. But I can tell them why. I know why. I had a purpose. I had things to take care of. And I didn't go to sleep. The overwhelming urge to close my eyes was pulling me. It was pulling me. I just wanted to go to sleep and rest, to take that pain away. And I would literally fight with myself to stay awake. And I knew that if I shut my eyes, there was a possibility I wasn't going to wake up. And that was unacceptable as well. And so I fought that overwhelming urge to go to sleep and to take away that pain. A lot of people wonder how you cope. with that kind of pain. And in our home, I think we're probably the top 4 smart alecks in the entire country. You know, our banter back and forth is, it's ruthless sometimes. My husband and I don't know when to stop. And we use humor. I mean, humor is one of our ways of coping, of getting through tough times and difficult times. And even through this entire ordeal, I kept humor in mind. When I was finally rescued by my neighbor, Russ Smallwood, who is now a dear friend, didn't know him. And I had to be transported from when they found me in the back of the house, from the back of a John Deere Gator, up a hill to the back of a Jeep Cherokee, from the Jeep Cherokee to the back of an ambulance, from the back of an ambulance to the hospital. And this was all with severed legs that were being held by my sweatpants. But you know, Russ had to hold my leg up. I was losing a lot of blood. They had tourniqueted the leg. And it was bad. I looked at it. It was bad. It's hard for a trained professional to look at it, much less someone that doesn't have experience looking at the trauma he was looking at, I was looking at, for that matter. And he was having to hold up my leg, and I could see the anguish in his face and the hurt, and he just couldn't even look at me. He couldn't even look at me in the face. And he was scared, and he was worried I was going to die. I was worried I was going to die. And finally I looked at him, and he looked at my other foot, because he was holding my left leg for the longest time, and he finally looked at my other foot, and his head just kind of dropped, and he started crying. And I said, Russ, I said, there goes pedicures. And he looked at me, and he started laughing. And he goes, how do you do it? And I said, because if not, we're going to sit here and cry. And I said, you know, using humor is part of what I do to help cope. And that's how we in our family help cope, is finding something funny and good out of something that seems and is so awful. And I woke up to a hospital room full of family, and everybody kind of looked at me, and they just kind of stared. And what I didn't realize is they didn't know if I knew that I'd lost my legs. And I could tell by my husband's face that he was having a real hard time, because he didn't want to have to tell me, and he knew he'd be the one to tell me. And I asked him, I said, did I lose my legs? And he said, yes. And at that moment, we grieved. We did. But then the fighter in me came out. That's when I said, okay, so what's our plan? You know, I've lost my legs. It's time to move on. How am I going to walk again? And we immediately went into doing some homework, finding out what was out there, finding out what my options were. I don't take lying down too easily, you know. And my motivation kicked in. My motivation and determination to have my life back 100% the way it was. I always tell myself and my kids that your only limitations in life are the ones that you set on yourself. You're only limited by you. And I'm limitless. You can't tell me boundaries. You know, I firmly believe that's what makes pro athletes, CEOs and millionaires, because they don't know limits. They aren't scared to step outside the box and outside the boundaries and push themselves. And I'm not scared to do that. That is part of who I am. I realize now, I get it, as many of you get it, because you're here to help. I get how important it is, and that lesson will be carried with me for the rest of my life. And again, I thank you for what you're doing, and I'm so excited to be able to join you today. And I may not be able to hammer very well, but maybe I can throw some paint up. But I look forward to it, and I appreciate you having me here and letting me talk. Thank you.